Hello. Looks like we have somebody in the room. Oh wait, what is it doing? All right, so we're gonna wait for folks to join the live and then we'll go ahead and get started. I think I'm gonna give it maybe a couple minutes to jump into it because I have quite a bit of information that I want to cover. But hello and welcome for those of you who are already on. If you want to put something in the chat, oh, there we go. Hi, Ravina. Hi, it's good to see you. So Ravina, I know you like to binge watch the videos. That's cool. I appreciate the support. Thank you. I'm glad you're on with me. Oh, give me a second here. I forgot something. Okay. I always feel like I'm in the shadows. So I have to turn on some extra lighting. Taj, hello, welcome. Can't wait to get insight. Yes, yes. I'm going to be providing a lot of insight today. Like I said, I want to give it a couple minutes though, because I noticed that folks usually join maybe like 5 minutes after I get started on the live, but I'm not going to wait 5 minutes. Welcome. How are you? Hey, Jersey Club, welcome. And if you all could hit the thumbs up button for me, that would be great because that way it helps the video show up in the algorithm. I had a couple folks reach out and say that they didn't get the notification that I had published the live afterwards. So I don't know what that's about. But if you all could hit the thumbs up, that would be awesome. Thank you. And I see you all are doing that. Thank you so much. All right, Jake Jaron, how's it going? Hello. And please let me know if you're not able to hear me because I'm thinking that you all can hear me just fine. All right, we have Eric. Welcome. Welcome, Eric. And I'm thinking I'm going to say this wrong. Karis. Karis, welcome. Welcome, welcome. And then we have Kaya or Kia. Welcome to the live. All right. Kia says, hey, Terry from Illinois. Welcome, welcome. Oh, wow. We got a good group in here today. That's awesome. Okay. So let's see here. I can hear you right out my car speakers. I know I talk kind of loud, right? That's good though. That's better than you not being able to hear me at all. So that's perfect. Okay, so we're gonna give it one more minute and then we're gonna get into the live. Kia, like the car. Okay, that was my guess. That was my guess, Kia. All right, and we have Daniel. Welcome, New York in the house. All right, welcome. And then we have Jeb Smith. Welcome to the live. Let's see, I will be in Anchorage, Alaska weeks from now, and I was wondering if the bus fares are free now due to COVID. If not, where can I buy a week pass? My flight will land in Anchorage. What I will do, because I have a video that talks about, no, I need to publish it. So I have a video that talks about transportation that I have locked and loaded to go live this Wednesday. But what I will do, gosh, I want to get that information to you. One thing I will say is if you go to the municipality website, then you will see what the bus fares are and everything. But I definitely want to get that information to you. I'm trying to think about the best way to do that, If After this video loads, if you want to put a comment down in the comment section as well on the replay, then I will go ahead and post the link to the municipality site so you can get all that information. Or if you want to go to my website, happygirlalaska.com, and then put the same question. If you want to copy paste, that's fine. Put it in the contact form and I will respond directly to you with that information. But I don't want to leave you hanging there. Okay, Jay Jaron, before you start, what are we drinking? You know what, Jay? I'm gonna do a dry live today. I'm not drinking anything today. I woke up with a headache and I didn't want to play around with that. So yeah, I had a glass of water. Yeah. I'm gonna pass today on the drinks, but I'm curious to know what you're having if you want to put that in the chat box here. Taj just was about to ask about Uber and Lyft fares there. Yep, that video is going live on Wednesday where I talk about the transportation that we use in Anchorage. And as a matter of fact, I have a video, I want to say the cost of living video. If you go and check that one out, I talk about the different forms of transportation that we use here in Anchorage. And then on my last live, I talked about the different forms of transportation that we use throughout Alaska. So if you want to go check those two videos out, you'll find some information there. Karis, what is the weather like today? It is beautiful. It is gorgeous out today. And it's supposed to be nice for the next couple days, I believe. Okay, so you know what? I think we have a good crowd. Let's go ahead and hop into this live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I am Terry, otherwise known as Happy Girl Alaska. I want to welcome the subscribers that have been rocking with me for a while. Welcome back. And for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm really excited to announce that we're almost at 3,000 subscribers. So I'm super excited about that. So thanks to all of you for tuning in, for telling your friends, sharing the videos and all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let me see here. I have some notes. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I want to mention that I am going to be offering some services via my website, www.happygirlalaska.com. So if you want help with building out an itinerary, or if you just want to chat one-on-one using Zoom, you can choose to have your camera on or not. Those services will be offered on my website. Matter of fact, I have it posted out there now. And then there's some other things that are going to be posted out on the website as well. Percy and I are going to be collaborating on some things, and we want you all to get in on it as well. So be on the lookout for that. For those of you who are subscribed to the newsletters, you will hear about it first, but then I will also post in the community tab, and then I'll probably make a video where the two of us, Percy and I, are talking about the service that we're going to be offering. So really excited about that. Okay, let's see. I think as far as housekeeping is concerned, yes, that does it. We're gonna go ahead and get into the share. So today's share, what I wanted to do is bring perspectives from people who have either lived in Alaska, specifically in Anchorage, or those who are currently residing in Anchorage, Alaska, because in my opinion, Anchorage, Alaska is one of the most popular cities. It's definitely the most populated city in Alaska. So I wanted to share, you know how I feel about Alaska, right? I wanted to share what other folks have said just to give you all an idea of different people's life experiences here. And we have some positive experiences, and then we also have some negative experiences so that you'll be able to weigh the two. And then what I'll do is I will actually read the email that I got from somebody that kind of sparked me wanting to make this video today. So that's what we're going to cover. Let me check the chat real quick and then we'll go ahead and get into it. Let me make sure I greet everyone. Let's see, I think I have Andre Gilbert. Welcome, watching from Los Angeles. All right. I know you guys are probably having some beautiful weather there. Varied perspectives. Welcome's good to see you. Sending some positive vibes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Arctic Thunder Gamer. Hey, baby girl. So sorry I am late. Hey, you know what? You're here. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. So, the most recent inquiry I received through my contact form was someone, I'm going to say her name is B. I won't give her whole name. But what she says is, hello there, my name is B, and there's a chance that I may move to Anchorage this year. I'll be starting a fellowship, but there are several places that I could go, and Anchorage is on the list. I found you while I was looking for places to find Black people in Alaska. I found your YouTube channel. If I end up in Alaska, I will certainly contact you. I have so many questions. And so I get a lot of questions just from people from all different types of backgrounds. A lot of times from Black people because they don't think that there are any other Black people here. So, whatever questions anybody has, feel free to reach out through my contact form. But what I want to talk about is how people describe their life in Anchorage, Alaska, and is it difficult to find work so you can afford a living? Because you often hear that the cost of living is high, right? And then people want to know, how do we survive the winters? Different things like that. People have different lifestyles. So I just kind of wanted to share what I found that folks were saying. So this first one this first perspective is from a former Alaskan. And what they said is, let me see, what does Andre, let's see, 65 degrees, nice cool breeze here. You know what? I don't know if we've hit the 60s yet, but it's been pretty warm. It's been pretty warm. Arctic Thunder, you could probably speak to that a little bit. I don't think we've hit the 60s just yet, but my goodness, on some days it felt like we did. All right, so let me get back to this. Okay, former Alaskans experience, right? Okay, living in Anchorage is pretty much like living in any other small city. There are urban places where houses are close together, condominiums, complexes, apartments, and neighborhoods with tree-lined quiet streets and grass lawns. What I'll say anymore, we really don't have that much housing where you can have that much of a yard. And I don't know if it's like that over the entire US, but it's certainly the case here. A lot of the homes are very close together, especially the new developments, unless if it's in an older neighborhood, then you may get more of a yard. Or if you go out to Eagle River, even seems like their homes are pretty close together. But Wasilla and Palmer, you get a lot more space for the money. So another thing, like they said, there are plenty of condominium complexes here, a whole ton of apartments and neighborhoods with tree-lined quiet streets. Yes, and I think that let me see, I have a couple videos where I've toured some of the neighborhoods where you get a chance to see that. So it says here, up on the hillside, there are big homes with large windows overlooking the city, Cook Inlet and the mountains and volcanoes across the inlet. You have lots of cultural activities like the symphony, drama, art, social clubs, churches, and various other special interest events. And so I'm sharing this because I want you all to know that Anchorage is very much a thriving city. We have a lot of the same things that some of the bigger cities offer. Okay, both Anchorage and Fairbanks have large universities, which helps those cities retain cultural talent. Our major colleges or universities are the University of Alaska Anchorage and Alaska Pacific University, both located here in Anchorage. And then Fairbanks, I think theirs is UAF, University of Alaska Fairbanks. Okay, generally Alaskans are a little more self-reliant than people elsewhere. Hunting and fishing are popular, so most Alaskans have lots of outdoor gear to get them out into the wilderness. Boats, ATVs, and snow machines, snowmobiles to outsiders, are on everybody's wish list. These are all expensive toys, so a lot of us save up or use our state dividend checks to buy them. So if you're not familiar with the permanent fund dividend, they get into that a little bit here. But I know some folks on the live who currently live in Alaska, they own these winter toys. They own these outdoor toys. And I feel like the people who do have those types of things, the snow machines and ATVs, they really do make the most of Alaska, without a doubt. So every year, the government shares a little of the income from our oil revenue savings account. And this is talking about the permanent fund dividend check right now. With all Alaskan residents, so we get 1,000 or so to buy something. You have to be here a year before you get that, and you have to be a full-time Alaskan, not just a half-year resident like many. And I think what this person is referring to when they're talking about the half-year resident, we get quite an influx of seasonal workers up here, especially during the summer. So if you're deciding to come up as a seasonal worker, you won't qualify for the Alaska Permanent Fund dividend because you have to be an Alaska resident and you have to have lived here for at least a year in order to qualify. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the chat real quick. Let's see, Arctic Thunder, you said a few days ago on the east side, it hit 63. Yeah, it was really hot. It was really, really hot. And I wasn't sure what the temperature was, but that sounds about right. In my opinion, almost any area south of Dowling is the better, safest area to live, but rent and property taxes are higher. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, depending when you buy a home or rent a place, you're buying and renting the neighborhood as well. So that's something you definitely have to keep in mind. Okay. So reading on, anybody who wants to work can get a job. So jobs are plentiful here. But our unemployment rate is high right now. That's because oil prices are low, so the big oil companies have cut back on exploration. It is also because we haven't developed more mines and other industries. Jobs in the big resource industries pay very well, which is true. So when those workers are out of work, they aren't real interested in lower paying jobs. In Anchorage, there are lots of white collar jobs. That's not the case in the rest of Alaska, where there are far more general and skilled labor jobs than white collar jobs. The pay is pretty good for most professional and skilled labor jobs. If you work in hospitality or food service, you can also get pretty good tips in a tipping position. So that's for the folks who are thinking about moving up to Alaska. If you want to spend a little bit of time here, I say if you really want to experience Alaska, if you want to try to find a job, jobs in hospitality, like he said, in service work, if you can get on with a skilled labor job, that will probably work out a lot better for you from a cost of living perspective. But just know that there are quite a few people who double up on jobs here too. So, okay, overall, for people willing to work general labor or hospitality jobs, it's easy to find work in the summer and not quite as easy in the winter. We import several thousand guest workers from various countries every year. That's very true. In the hospitality and tourism industry, because we can't get enough Alaskans to take the various guiding, food service, and housekeeping jobs. These are legal immigrants, not illegal like some other places. They come on temporary work visas. They go back home each year with extra money in their pockets. Any Alaskan could get one of those jobs. All right, and then finishing up here, some people work hard in summer and then part-time jobs in winter. Living expenses are a little higher than most places, but for someone who works hard and is willing to put in long hours, you can make ends meet even on a general labor wage. So I hope that was helpful. I really enjoyed reading their insight and their perspective because it's so true. I mean, and they touched on a lot of really important points um, that will play into what your Alaskan experience will be like. You know, let me go back to the chat. Let's see. If you can get into one of the native corporations for a slope job is a good job to have. Definitely. And I heard that if you want to get on with the Alaska Native corporations or any of them for that matter, it's good to know someone. You know, have someone who's on the inside that can recommend you and refer you. I know that's how I had an opportunity to get on with the Alaska Native Corporation because I'm telling you, it's almost like an act of God if you're an outsider trying to get in. Um, let's see. I've been seeing many positions for teachers in the rural areas of Alaska paying close to 100,000 a year. So here's what I'll say too. The job that you get here in Anchorage is not going to pay you as much in most cases as if you got the same position out in a rural area. And I don't know if it's, well, part of it I think is because the cost of goods is higher out in those areas, but then also maybe you get compensated a little bit more because of the hardships and not that many people want to go out there. So they want to make the job more attractive, right? So they're going to pay you more. I know nurses make a killing. Folks in the medical industry, they make a ton of money out in the rural areas. Okay. Let's see. Best place to live, hands down. Is that a question, Jeb? Best place to live, hands down. Or are you saying like Alaska is the best place to live, hands down? Yeah, I think Alaska is awesome though. But I'm kind of biased. I've lived here all my life, so. Okay, so this next comment is from a current resident, and what they said is what it's like. Well, Anchorage is a city of 300 plus thousand people, so it is living in a city, but with some unique aspects such as snow, wildlife, wilderness right outside our city limits. Alaska as a whole, on the other hand, can vary. You can live in a cabin off the road system in a small town or even a village. The climate is varied, as is the terrain. Overall, the quality of life can be far superior to the rat race of the lower 48. And I hear quite a few people saying that they moved to Alaska because they wanted a change of pace. They wanted to slow down, and I believe you can definitely do that here. And then it says, depending on one's skills, it can be hard to find work. And that is true. Although summer always has tons of opportunity for work, we are a resource extraction site, so many jobs are in that sector. We're also a huge cargo hub for air freight here in Anchorage. All right, so let's see if there are any questions in the chat here. Falcon Nation, welcome. I don't think I greeted you. Welcome. Let's see. OMG, so true. I tried to get up there on my own and was unable to until a family member put in a word for me. Yeah, definitely. And I thought that was just a rumor, you know, trying to get on with the native corporations. But yeah, I tried for years to get on with them, and it wasn't until I had someone refer me that, and even then, the process of hiring takes a really long time. Most positions have Alaska Native preference, right? So they want to make sure that the Alaska Native people have an opportunity to get those jobs before anyone else, and I totally get that. But definitely you want to know somebody on the inside. Let's see. Bianca, was there a place to see theater pre-COVID? Absolutely. So here in Anchorage, Alaska, you could go to the Performing Arts Center, and then they will also have events at the Denina Center. Both of those are located downtown. And then the Egan Convention Center. So, I mean, we have tons of places. I'm not sure if the Performing Arts Center has started putting shows on again or not. I haven't really been paying attention to that just because I'm not that big on sitting in a space with a whole bunch of people at this time. I'm not really comfortable with that. So I haven't gone to the movie theaters or anything. It's been a while, but we definitely had those types of things pre-COVID. Ooh, I probably shouldn't have said that. Hopefully the algorithm won't strike me for saying that. Okay. Um, so next here from a current resident, Anchorage is quite like any large sized town in the lower 48 with all the amenities and has roads that lead to all points of the state and can take you anywhere you want to go almost. If no road, there is the Marine Highway or you can fly out. And I spoke about this on the last live. If you didn't see the last live, go back and watch that because I touch on the different types of transportation that is available in Alaska. And I also talked about the size of the state and why we have the smallest road system and information in that live. Okay. Let's see here. I hope I'm not buffering. It kind of looks like I'm buffering. So hopefully that's not happening. I started buffering on my laptop, so hopefully you all are okay. Okay, so this next comment is from another current resident. They said, Anchorage, Alaska is unique. It is probably the most diverse city in the world and certainly in the US. And I've talked about that in several videos. It's one of the reasons why I love living here. Mainly because it grew after federal law changed from mandating legal restrictions by race to forbidding them, and Alaska outlawed discrimination in housing and even in theaters long before the civil rights era. It has no majority population and the highest rate of cross-ethnic marriage in the US. It has the highest rate of promotion of women and marriage in the US. It has the highest rate of promotion of women and minorities in government and private sectors in the US. It has 110 different primary languages in homes of its school district and offers more language immersion programs than any other city in North America. And I think that's amazing. So I know that there's definitely South America. And I think that's amazing. So I know that there's definitely Spanish immersion programs, there's Japanese immersion programs. I want to say there's German as well. Of course, if you're wanting to get your kids enrolled in those types of programs, it's on a lottery system. So you have to get your name on a list. But I just think it's awesome that they offer those types of programs here. Let's see, the weather is moderated by the ocean. Its scenery is spectacular. I agree. At the same time, by Alaska standards, the mountains are not impressive. You can easily go see much more beauty. Now, I disagree with that point, but this is their perspective, of course. But I believe that the mountains are impressive. And if I'm being completely honest, the thing that I miss the most about Alaska whenever I leave and go somewhere else is seeing the mountains. They're just so majestic, so beautiful. I can't get over it. There is a fjord within half an hour's drive. The biggest mountain on the continent, which is Denali, can be seen on a clear day or reached by driving or bus or train in about 3 hours. Now, if you're wanting to go on a tour to see Denali view, and you have to log on to this website and they offer them during a certain block of time, but I've heard that the Denali tour is amazing. I've never been on it, and so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get a couple tickets this year. I don't know if my daughter would enjoy it, but I'm going to drag her so that we can go and see that. Because I told her, I said, we need to make the most of this summer if this is going to be our last summer here in Alaska. So I definitely want to try do that, and I'll take you guys along with me for that trip. Let's see. It says here, it is a nearly universally armed society. but it is rare to see weapons except on security guards or police. Now, I would say from um, folks carrying guns, back in the day, you didn't see as many people carrying their guns on their hips out in public, but nowadays that has changed. For the folks that have an open carry license, I know that sometimes when Percy and I have gone somewhere, he'll wear his gun on his hip. I've been in stores and seen guys walking around with their guns. So people are getting, I guess, a little bit more comfortable with carrying their guns out in the open. Okay, so for that reason, it is a polite society. Police assume you're on their side and vice versa in partnership against any kind of trouble. And I have to honestly say that I have not heard, um, it's very rare to hear reports of police brutality or anything like that. I want to say the most recent report that I heard was several years ago, and that is where a police officer was abusing his position of power and was raping some of the women. And he's in jail now, I believe. He's still in jail for that. But I haven't heard of any other cases of where law enforcement abused their position of authority. There may be some stories out there that I just haven't heard about, but yeah, I think that it's a mutual trust that we do feel like the police are on our side and they feel like we're supporting them as well. It used to be the law, you had to help someone in distress on the road. Now it is only the standard of behavior and tradition because the court struck it down when a woman argued she did not have to stop if she didn't want to go. Now, this is another thing that I talk about, and then I did a couple of videos probably 2 years ago where I interviewed people who have lived in Alaska for quite some time. And I mean, it was a consensus that if somebody is having trouble on the road or somebody needs assistance, within a matter of minutes, people are jumping out of their vehicles to try and help them. You know, it's very rare to see someone who is broken down or if they need help, they're just sitting there for hours. So that is a really great thing. There's, to me, a sense of community that I don't know if other places have that, but it's definitely that way here in Anchorage. Um, let's see. Okay, in spite of these qualities, and this is kind of okay, so we're going to transition into some of the cons of living in Anchorage. In spite of these qualities, it has the highest rate of violent crime in the USA. Not the usual kinds of crime. This is pretty much domestic violence, which means you get to choose how much you are at risk by whom you choose to live with, unless of course you don't, as if you are a child. It's other, what is that? Okay, its other less than perfect quality is related to the transition from Stone Age to Information Age by Alaska Natives. It has not been a perfect transition at all. I don't want to go into that too much. I know that anytime you start talking about the Alaska Native way of life or their culture, that is a very sensitive subject. This person did say a little bit more about that, but I'm going to just kind of bypass and go on to the next point that they're making here. There are no gigantic squatter areas like LA, for example, but there are upwards of thousands of homeless people in a town of 300,000 in the winter and 400,000 in summer. Efforts to reduce this are increasing, but likely not going to be 100% effective. And that's another thing I will say. So, you know, I grew up here and I do not remember seeing as many people as we see today standing out on the street corners holding signs saying I'm helpless or homeless, will work for food. I mean, you see that at just about every major traffic stop, people holding up signs, you know, and I'm guessing that they're homeless, right? People just kind of sleeping wherever they can find a place to lay on the ground. it seems like that number is increasing. I remember over in Midtown by the post office, they had like this large area that had a bunch of trees, and people had actually set up their tents. So it was like these little tent cities that were set up. The other day, when I was driving down the Glen Highway heading towards downtown, when I looked over to my right, over in the area that's kind of like when you, was it Perry Bridge? I can't think of the name of that bridge, but it's kind of like you cross the bridge to go over into Elmendorf, and there were tents, another tent city set up, and you could see them right from the highway. So the number of homeless people is increasing. I find that interesting because, I mean, Alaska is a hard place to live from an environmental standpoint, let alone cost of living. So I don't know what's causing the increase of homelessness here in Anchorage, but yeah, that's definitely something that, I think it's good to mention that so that you won't be caught off guard. Um, okay, so they go on to say Alaska is a desert disguised as lake country with real natural threats, like going into a coma if you don't drink enough water. I kind of feel like that's a little extreme, but okay. And four kinds of bears. So in the last live, I also talked about the wildlife. So um, from my research, I saw that we have three types of bears that are common. So brown bears, which are also known as grizzly bears, black bears, and polar bears. Now, it's most likely in your neighborhood that you may cross paths with a black bear. Um, if you cross paths with a brown bear or grizzly bear, I don't know what area that would be. I've never heard of those being here in the Anchorage area, nor have I heard of polar bears roaming the neighborhoods here in Anchorage. But I'd say in Alaska as a whole, yeah, you probably run into all three in areas outside of Anchorage. It says here Anchorage has bears and wolves in town every day of the year. I personally have never seen a wolf, but I know people who have seen wolves. Um, but you likely will never see a wolf, and it is years between seeing bears unless you go looking for them or leave unattended garbage to attract them. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Let's see. Michael, welcome. Welcome. Good to see you. Michael, you said, hey, it is unique. Yes, indeed, it is. It is unique. Let's see, talk. I'm currently in Medellin, Colombia. When I return back home to the States, I plan on moving to Anchorage or Seattle, but Anchorage access to nature does something for me. Absolutely. That's what I love about Anchorage. I mean, you get the whole rustic vibe if you want to drive maybe a half hour out somewhere, but then you also have that whole modern scene. I was worried about the diversity at first. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you'll hear me talk about the diversity quite a bit here. Um, let's see, Arctic Thunder. I have only seen law enforcement with weapons, but never on top flight security. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just been recently that I've been seeing people, exercising their open carry, where they have their guns on their hip. Bianca, in the state where I grew up, the public was able to go onto the army base to work, attend foods, or buy food at the mess hall. Does the public have access to the military base in Anchorage? I'm going to say no, they do not. Um, if you are a civilian and you want to go on the base, you have to go on with someone who is also in the military as they sponsor you, I believe is what it is. And they put some major restrictions in place too, as far as if you're the person who's driving and you're the civilian, but you have someone who's like military personnel in the driver's seat, they could give you a really hard time about that. I can remember my friend Jamar came up and he was staying with someone who lived on Elmendorf. And I mean, it was my vehicle, right? I had my driver's license and everything, but they kind of gave us a hard time about that. So But certainly shopping at like the commissary and stuff like that, if you're a civilian, you cannot do that. You can go in with someone who's military, but you yourself, you can't have access like that. Michael, one bear is enough for me. Absolutely. I remember seeing a black bear in my daughter's school parking lot, and I was in my car and I froze. Those things are massive. Let's see, Arctic Thunder. The economy was getting bad before 2020, and 2020 hit, and people suffered many challenges. Yeah, I think that was the case for a lot of people the world over. Jake get along with the Bears. All right, hey, you test that theory if you want to. I know you're just joking, but I mean, it's cool to see it, but you don't want to be too close. Definitely, you want to be careful about that. Okay, so I think no, I have a little bit more to go here. Okay, so here's another thing. So there are certain areas where it looks like a beach area, and I can't remember if they're called mud flats or what, but sometimes people will go and walk out on those mud flats. Arctic Thunder, if you know what those are called, put it in the chat box, but they'll walk out there. And when the tide is low, a lot of that is exposed. But what happens is you can get stuck out there. And then the tides start coming in. And as that area gains more moisture, it's hard for you to walk on it. And there have been people who have gotten stuck. There have been people who have had to, I don't know if they were medevaced out or what, but it took an act of God to get people unstuck. And for those that they couldn't get out, they drowned. So this is what this person is talking about here. It says quicksand is very dangerous. Believe signs and maps saying don't walk on it, but it isn't illegal. So you got to remember that. Watch out for the signs. If it says do not walk, as tempting as it might be, don't walk out there on the mud flats or the quicksand. It says here, you are allowed to be foolish, and windsurfers do just that. The native word chachaco means the reason we walk around with you for the first year isn't so much that we like you as because we don't want to go to your funeral. We will keep you from throwing rocks at moose and other dangerous choices. They're being real sarcastic with this comment here. It says here, a moose is a vegetarian, but is also fearless, able to kill a bear with a single kick. And I think people underestimate moose quite a bit because for the most part, I feel like they're gentle creatures. So there have been people who have gotten out of their vehicles, walked up to a moose to pet it, and they've gotten kicked. There's a video of a guy who got kicked in the face because I think he was trying to feed a moose. So just be careful. Do not approach the moose. You can admire them, but do not approach them. It says here, they are also dark and weigh 2 tons and stand on stilts. So if you drive fast at night and hit one, it will crush your car and kill you. But the moose may well just walk away wondering what that was that hit it. Do not get between a mama moose and her baby. Same rule applies to bears, or throw things at her or her baby, just in case you could not guess such a thing. All right, so just be smart, be smart, use common sense if you come into contact with some of the wildlife up here. Okay, going back to the chat, let's see what we're saying over here. Arctic Thunder, you said, I believe the base is still closed. Yeah, to the general public, to the general population, only contractors. Yeah, so contractors. And then I remember when I was taking classes, because the university I went to, some of the classes were offered on the base, but you had to have a pass for that. And you were only allowed to go to the class, back out the gate. They did not mess around with that. Let's see, GCI is having issues today. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Okay, sinking sand. Oh, okay. Yeah, sinking sand, quicksand. Um, let's see. Down on the inlet, what does it say? Down on the inlet, board tide is dangerous. Mud flats are also dangerous. Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's why I said pay attention to the signs. If they say do not go out there, don't do it. Bianca says, I've seen your other videos about the 10 things that you hate and the 10 things that you love about Alaska. The good must really outweigh the bad for you to have stayed there for 30 plus years. Yes, I would say the good definitely outweighs the bad here of living in Alaska. And I say because I live in Anchorage, right? Because I am a city girl. You know, for somebody else, they may want to live out in a more remote area. It's a little bit tougher to live out there, but it just depends on what it is you're looking for. But yeah, I have enjoyed living in Anchorage. I really have. Um, okay, let's see. A student at UAA was trying to feed the moose and was killed. Yeah, you hear stories like that. You hear stories like that because people just underestimate the wildlife here. Michael Carlson said, Bullwinkle don't play. No, he does not. And she does not either. All right. So this next comment is from a current resident who has lived here for 50 plus years. They have me beat. They said, with beautiful scenery, wildlife right in town, wilderness just a short drive away, and a friendly, informal culture, Anchorage is a great place to live with a few significant drawbacks. Again, high rates of sexual assault, domestic violence, car thefts, and murders, and long, dark winters. They go on to say, my husband and I took our Zodiac raft up to the Connect River, about an hour's drive from Anchorage, and pulled out onto a sand and pebble beach. And a lot of people don't know that we do have beaches here. We ate a picnic lunch, read, and enjoyed the scenery. It was a great day to be living in Anchorage. In town, I saw people kayaking down a creek and dozens of people hiking and riding bikes. At a nearby park, people were having picnics and cooking barbecue. At another park, some kids were flying a kite while others enjoyed on playground equipment next to a pond with geese, ducks, magpies, and seagulls. And I'll have to say that summertime, I mean, it's hopping here. There's so much activity. The locals get out. You know, we've waited so long. We've survived the wintertime, and we just make the most of it. And then we also have the tourists that come into town now. Me, myself, I am a local, but I love to play tourist as well. So, in my opinion, summertime is the best time to visit. Um, it says here, summertime in the summertime, the salmon are running, returning to spawn in the streams where they were born. So you see people fishing here, and they're fishing here and there at various creeks around town. The opportunities for outdoor recreation are endless. You do have to keep an eye out for moose. Moose with calves are especially dangerous because, of course, they're protecting their babies. Anchorage also has movies, shopping, some very nice restaurants, and dance, theater, and live music performances. And I can't wait until they get back to having the outdoor live performances. So, one thing I'll mention is downtown. I'm trying to think of the name of the street. It's across from where um, oh gosh, Hard Rock Cafe. I think they closed down, but where that used to be. And they would have the military band playing live music outside. I mean, it's awesome. So hopefully we'll get back to that. They didn't do that last year, but I'm hoping that those types of things will return this year. Okay, so it says now for the not so pleasant aspects of life in Anchorage. And again, I'm specifically speaking to Anchorage. Okay. This person said Alaska is in a recession due to the low price of oil, which provides about 90% of the state budget. This happened in the 1980s also. Back then, the housing market crashed, businesses closed, and a few banks failed. The current recession isn't as severe, but unemployment is higher than in the rest of the country. And some businesses have cut back on staff and closed. And I'll tell you, with the recent events of everything that was happening last year, that has not helped at all. I've seen quite a few businesses that have been here ever since I was a little girl. They've since closed up. Um, it says here, Anchorage has high rates of sexual assault and rape. Unfortunately, Native women are disproportionately the victims of sex crimes and murder. And again, I made a video entitled, Is Alaska Safe for Women? So if you're interested, go ahead and check out that video where we speak to that a little bit more. There's also been a growing car theft spree in the past year or so. And there are also some headlines mentioning 3 shootings in the last couple weeks, plus the killing of a sow and 3 cubs that ripped into a tent where there was a liter bottle of soda. But there wasn't anybody in the tents at the time that the bear ripped through the tents. And she also mentions here, you regularly see homeless people begging on street corners. And again, Anchorage has a high rate of homelessness, which becomes deadly in the winter. All right, so let's see how we're doing on time. Oh, wow. Okay, so what I thought about doing is opening up a call line if anybody wanted to call in. I do have more information that I want to share, and I think I might dive into that instead of opening up the call lines. But let me check the chat real quick. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, I didn't know Bullwinkle was so mean. Are there shelters for unhoused individuals? Yes, there are shelters. Beans Cafe is one place that will serve food to homeless people. And then I want to say the Brother Francis shelter. I don't know if they're still around because I believe they shut down some of the homeless shelters maybe a year or 2 ago, but there are some available. I don't have the names of those shelters, but to answer your question, yes, there are homeless shelters available. Let's see. Muhammad, welcome. Welcome to the live. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to go ahead and jump into this next topic. I think we should be able to finish it up here within the next 10 minutes or so. Okay, so the next topic is Anchorage a dangerous city to live in? And we kind of talked about that a little bit, but to put things in perspective of ranking, so these are the top 10 dangerous cities in Alaska. So number 1 is Kenai. Okay, so they rank the highest. Then second is Anchorage. Third is Fairbanks. Fourth, Juneau. Fifth, Kotzebue. Sixth, Ketchikan. Seventh, Wasilla. Eighth, Dillingham. Ninth, Kodiak. And then 10, North Pole. So in that order. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of provide that information to you. So now let's see what some folks had to say about it. So someone who lived here previously, they no longer reside here in Anchorage. They said, they said, like anywhere, I think it really depends on your social economic status and your lifestyle. I moved to Anchorage in 2007 and have lived in different areas of those spectrums. I've lived in neighborhoods around Spanard, largely considered to be in the seedier side, which I can confirm. I've lived in Turnagain in the low to mid working class area. I've lived downtown, and I've currently lived in South Anchorage Hillside. Oh, wait a minute. So they're not, okay. So they still live in Anchorage. Apologies for that. So they live on the hillside now. That said, I have felt increasingly unsafe living in Anchorage due to the rise of violent crime. An article in the Anchorage Daily News stated the following: over the past 30 years, Alaska's violent crime rate has risen even as the state's overall crime rate fell, according to a new data analysis from a University of Alaska researcher. The Alaska Justice Statistical Analysis Center's violent crime reported in Alaska 1986 to 2015 fact sheet was released Monday. The report draws on nearly 30 years of state data submitted to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program. The violence can be felt from the closure of downtown's nightclub scene to the rash of murders that plagued Anchorage this year. Wow. This is a relatively small city, making homicide and other violent crime in parks and walking trails feel a little too close to home. And to be honest with you, I see, and I'll just speak from a woman's perspective, I see women by themselves out here on these bike paths, walking trails. They're alone. I'm assuming that they're probably armed. They probably have a taser or they have a firearm on them. Me personally, if I decide to do something like that, I'm always going, my preference is to go with a male friend, but if not, I'll have someone else accompany me if I'm doing things outdoors where I'm on a trail or something like that. The economy in Alaska is in a state of decline and Anchorage is feeling it. Drug use and violent crime is up and jobs are down. I would say that if I didn't live in an area that was insulted because of economic factors, I would definitely not want to live in Anchorage. Okay, so that was that's what she had to say on that matter. All right, let's check the chat real quick. All right. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. So a current resident who lived here for 24 years, they left the state and then they moved back. Okay. It says, I came back to Alaska 24 years ago to raise our children because of how safe we felt. When you read about murders and crime, it is scary, but I think it's how you choose to live your life. What I mean is we don't drink or do drugs, so we don't go to bars or frequent places where there is more crime. We raised our 5 children here after traveling the world with the military. Our kids or 11 grandchildren have never been in trouble with the law, so again, they don't frequent places where crimes go down. So for us, I feel safe in Anchorage. We do have an alarm system on our home, but we've never had any problems. However, I also believe in the right to bear arms. Sometimes I do conceal carry, kind of depends on where we are going. I'm active, and anytime I'm on the trails walking, running, or on a bike, I always have a 357 on my hip. Not for people, although if I need to use it, I would, but because I live in bear country. Because in the winter, we go to work in the dark and come home in the dark, we are always aware of our surroundings. My home has a large lot, so before I lock the door, I scan the yard for eyes looking at me. You can walk out the front door and not realize that 3 feet in front of you can be an 800-pound bull moose sleeping the night away. So Alaskans tend to be hyper aware of everything around them. And that's the honest truth, because you want to be on the lookout for wildlife, but then also, are there any suspicious people kind of lurking around your area? It says here, if you are a thug or drug addict, yes, this is a dangerous state, stay away. If you are a normal, everyday person, you will probably find we are a safe community. And I agree with her on that. And in case you are wondering, Alaska is the most beautiful state in the country. And I agree with her on that as well. All right, let's see. Do we have any questions? Can you tell if global warming is affecting the seasons in Alaska? I know there's a whole debate on global warming. I don't know. I mean, I will definitely say it's been getting a lot warmer and hotter in Anchorage, or Alaska for that matter, than I remember it being during the time that I've lived here, and I've been here over 30 years. So there's something going on for sure. Um, let's see. Most of us Alaskans carry a sidearm, and when I go camping or extended stays overnight or nights, I carry my M4. Yeah, yeah. And I own a weapon. I don't usually carry it with me, but I think most Alaskans do own a firearm for sure. Okay, let's see here. So this comment is from a current Alaska resident. And it says here, statistically, Alaska per capita is one of the most dangerous states in the Union. And the problems of the lower 48, such as gangs and hard drugs, have filtered north. Add in the antisocial end of roaders, those who walk, drive to the furthest place away from the world, extreme alcohol abuse, and the criminals who flee here from the lower 48. Mentally, they are removing themselves as far away from the crime scene as they can. That's why we end up with a whole bunch of wanted people from the deep south, and that makes Alaska and Anchorage interesting to live in. So I will say that as well. You know, you do have some people that are kind of running from their problems, and they come here because they know Alaska is so far removed from the rest of the US. We're isolated here, and people can kind of hide, they can kind of disappear. You know, Alaska is huge, it's a huge state. So you have to be careful in that regard. It says here, now is Anchorage dangerous? Generally, the average person will not be a victim of a violent crime. Are Chicago, Jacksonville, or Las Vegas dangerous? It depends on your lifestyle choices and where you live. And I agree in most cases. The advantage that Anchorage has is that we are a constitutional carry state, meaning you do not need a permit to carry concealed firearms. You can protect yourself from 2 or 4-legged creatures without much government interference. Okay, let's go back to the chat real quick. All right, so we're right at our time, but I have one more comment that I wanted to read for you all. And if you're just joining the live, if you can hit the thumbs up button, that would be great. It'll make sure that my videos show up in the algorithm and everything. So if you could do that for me, that would be awesome. Let's see here. I've been checking out places near Dowling and Lake Otis. Is that a fairly decent area? I would say yes. Yes, Dowling and Lake Otis are fairly safe. Let's see, the upper Alaskan regions are experiencing beach erosion, and tundra is defrosting at an alarming rate, which contributes to greenhouse gases. Yeah, I remember the year when the temperatures got up to about, I want to say we hit 100 degrees. In certain places in Alaska, you could see the fish. There was just a whole bunch of dead fish floating in the water because the water had overheated. You know, so while I enjoy warm, hot weather, I certainly don't want to see the environment being impacted like that. But so back to the question of greenhouse, or I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, greenhouse effect and gases and stuff like that. There's definitely something going on. It's been a lot hotter in Alaska than it has in recent years. Okay, so here's the last comment. The answer, let's see. The answer is yes, not just because of the per capita percentages, even though those are accurate mostly. But the truth is that Alaska is not like the bullcrap reality shows. We are a huge state, but if I can hear, what is that? If I can hear a kilter firing in the wild bush, or hear a Palin getting into another domestic disturbing the peace fight, that's not the bush. That's television. And if you go back to my last live, I talk about how a lot of times people romanticize the state of Alaska. And if you really want to know what it's like living in Alaska, do not rely on these reality shows. I would say Google or look up other Alaskan YouTubers so that you can get a real life perspective. It says here, there are no crickets chirping in the closing credits. Those are sound bites. I say this not to deter Alaskan tourists. I say this because I care about all people. We are a fantastic state, and there's beauty to be found all over the place. But one hard fact is that we are no different than any other state. Alaska has made a male centric world of its own. High crime rates and a horrible domestic violence slash rape culture. Is it reality? No, yeah, is it reality? And I don't want to be the opposite of a welcome party, but I am also the one who will always help you in a bad situation. So there's that. Again, I just wanted to share a point of view from people who have formerly or previously lived in Alaska versus those who currently live in Alaska, people who maybe left, moved out of the state, and then they moved back. So I hope this was helpful for you all. I'm going to go to the chat real quick to see if we have any questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Um, let's see. Is most of my family in Alaska? Hi, Tanya. I don't think I greeted you. No, most of my family is not in Alaska. I do have an uncle that lives here, and I do have cousins that live here, but a majority of my family lives on the East Coast. Anthony, I don't think I greeted you. Welcome. Alaskan YouTubers or Twitch streamers. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you could check out some of the Twitch streamers as well. Let's see. So great to be part of your day. Have an awesome day and can't wait until your next live video. Thank you so much. And thanks to you all for joining me today. I really enjoyed you. I hope this information was helpful. If you didn't get to listen or attend the whole live stream, check out the replay. Again, hit the thumbs up button, like on your way out. And let me see. Do we have any more? It was very helpful. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Michael. All right, so thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye. Oh, Twitter is also a great source. Absolutely. All right, thank you all. Bye-bye.